as soon as it broadcasts. We have 5 minutes until we're live here until we open the room. And we have Tatiana. Is she coming? Okay. So
you want me to send her an email really quick?
Yeah, if you could.
For sure.
I wish I had a more cool background.
you don't have the virtual ones? You don't have the virtual ones, the hawk behind you?
Honestly, I need to figure out how to set those up.
Super easy. I can help you. I mean, there's just a button at the bottom. Like, I'll tell you. You know where the stop video? See the little arrow?
Yep.
Hit it.
What's up, Beth?
Choose
okay,
virtual
hit the
background.
arrow.
See it?
Choose virtual background. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah, if you have like a logo or something in
there's people in chat. Oh, hi, Beth. Beth's here. Can she? Oh no. Oh, I see.
I'm putting in the panelist chat that is the YouTube link to where we're live. If you want to send that to people at home that have not registered or anything, they can watch us live on YouTube. And now,
Beth, come in and say hi. We have like 2 minutes before we go live.
Is this better?
Yeah, look at that guy out there on the beach.
Yeah.
There we go.
Guys, you do not want to see me. Hi, everybody.
What's up, Beth?
Hello.
What's up?
Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you as well.
Beth is our Connecticut hookup.
Yeah, the New England girl.
Amazing.
Oh, that's a great background, Madison.
Thank you.
Beth is
I'd rather be there.
Stock.
Your view's probably not that bad either, right?
No, not too bad.
Yeah. He's in Palm Springs, Adelia. Oh, you know what I wanted to ask you? There's that event, that live event on the 16th. Do you know what I'm talking about? I saw it on Event High. Are you hearing me, Boo?
How many events does she have on Event High?
Well, it's a live one. It's an actual live one. She's...
Oh, it is.
We're having connectivity issues.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I can now. You're good now.
Choppy, and I think it's my connection, but I also think it's because I was calling in through the internet. Can I just call through the app?
Yeah.
That one.
You should be able to.
Really?
Okay. Two minutes and then we are live.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Rico, do you have Tatiana's cell?
I do. I'll shoot it over to you right now.
Okay. Well, no. Do you mind just texting her? I don't want her to be like, who's this crazy lady texting me? I shot her an email with like the reminder, but I just want to make sure she gets it.
Cool.
Can you hear it? How's the audio, Adelia? Good? Try saying something.
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, great. Yeah, you're good now. Yeah.
Good.
Okay.
You're great.
Yeah, I got off our internet and went on our hotspot.
Oh yeah, it's so much better. Jesus, sorry. I gotta move these dogs. Hold on.
I just texted Tatiana, and I also sent you her contact info. So she'll be good. All right. Finish this and we're good to go. Put up this presentation and we're money. Adelia, it's so good to see you.
It says we're live, but I had a quick question about that number 4 question. I don't know if I'll kind of just wait. I'll wait till we answer that, and then I'll kind of maybe ask me last.
Yeah, you can just text me too. Yeah, just text me direct or chat with me direct while Michelle is speaking. I'm gonna go through the first 4 slides, and then she's gonna finish the presentation and any questions you guys have, and then just hit me in the chat right here, and I can hook it up. Cool. All right. Advent Academy, cbdandcannabisinfo.com, and Originals Nation. We're good. All sponsors are in. Presentation is up. Are you gonna be pushing the presentation or me, Michelle? Me? Okay, cool. You want to kill everybody else's video, please? Or Kat, please?
Yeah, just give me, Kat, if you don't mind doing that. Tatiana can't get in, so I'm gonna make sure that she has the right
I'm doing it.
one.
Should I resend her? I'll resend it to her as well, panelist. See y'all in a second. Are we live? Here, broadcast. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, everybody, to another episode.
Thank you.
Welcome to Can I Gather Digital MJ Marketing Madness. Very, very, very exciting episode today. We're going to be talking all about marketing in the age of the coronavirus. This is episode 14 for us since we got started on March 19th, and I've got some exciting guests for us today. None other than the Director of Growth from Hawk Media, Mr. Madison Fiore. We also have the President from Cultivate MI Solutions out of Detroit, Tatiana Grant, and an excellent friend of mine. You all might know her if you're from the LA or the Southern California area. We also have Adelia Carrillo, and she is the CMO of Event High. So those of you that are new to us, Can I Gather is the industry's largest networking event. We've been around for 6.5 years now. Started in New York back in 2014, or is it 2013? Yeah, 2013. Can't do math. But we've grown, and then the pandemic hit, and we switched over to digital. We were the first ones to switch over to the virtual world from live B2B events. And we have been going now for a little over 3 months. So thank you guys for sticking with us, and thank you guys for helping us grow our community. We've actually added almost 4,000 brand new Can I Gather members over the last 100 days, I believe. So today is all about marketing in the pandemic age. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on in current events as far as the cannabis industry. The first of which, Virginia, my home state, their decriminalization law went into effect today. Very, very, very happy about that. We'll see how everything shakes out. We know new states, especially emerging markets, they have a little bit of a learning curve over everybody else, but they get to learn from all of our mistakes all here in the West. So hopefully they get it right. And I'll be checking in with my people as soon as shops get up and running. Los Angeles, we unveiled brand new social equity laws, and they went into effect too. A couple of noted issues. They're going by zip codes now, and you had to have had a cannabis conviction too. They added that also, and then a couple of other adjustments, if you will. We'll see how everything shakes out there. Hopefully we'll be in touch with Kat back within the next couple of weeks, and she'll get a better beat on what exactly is going on, as well as have some social equity applicants in the house too. Last one, what's going on with Normal? Some of you might have seen on social media, online, on the news. I was actually involved in this, so it's kind of tough situation for me personally. Last week, right before we went on live on CannaGather, I received a tip from somebody that I was going to be on a podcast with that members of Normal were actually running a white supremacy ring in the Northeast. So rung that up the ladder, and yeah, just Google and see what's going on the East Coast. Unfortunately, MassCan Normal, that chapter, was involved in their president and their, I want to say, one of their directors were involved in a lot of far right activities. It's just sad. It's really, really sad to see that that happen to them. But hopefully, their investigation will go well, and they can root out all of that stuff, because there's no room for a bunch of hate speeches, anti pride parades, like anti-pride, anti-Black Lives Matter, anti pretty much everything. There's no room for hate in the cannabis industry. So I hope that they root all of that stuff out and they get everything together. Talk a little bit about Madison. All right, so Madison, he helped build up Hawk Media from, they were already a strong company. He built them into a behemoth. I was actually able to attend Hawkfest last year and got a lot of great marketing nuggets from them. Some friends of CannaGather LA, from Veronica Steele, and then a couple of other people, my homeboy Josh. CannaGather LA loyalists, I would say, are gatherers. They really put me on to Hawk Media and the stuff that they do. And cannabis brands, mainstream brands, we're going to see a lot more crossover with mainstream companies doing a lot of great stuff in the cannabis industry. And I think Hawk Media is excellent barometer to what a company can be built up correctly with the right structure. Adelia Carrillo, we actually met a few years ago when she was still with DCN Network, and she was very, very, very ahead of her time, I would say. She was doing a lot of stuff digitally as far as marketing and getting brands out into the forefront before anybody else was doing anything on the digital side in the cannabis industry, especially in California. I got a lot of my news from DCN, and it's really, really awesome to see her. She's teamed up now with her, with my man Ali at Event Eye, and she's running all of the marketing over there, and they've just really, really took off since they teamed up on the business side. And finally, Tatiana Grant, coming in from Detroit, Michigan, and she is an absolute powerhouse herself. And no video. Yeah, she's an absolute powerhouse herself. Coming in from, she is the president of Cultivate MI Solutions out of Detroit. She's worked with numerous professional athletes, celebrities, you name it. She's poised to be like one of the biggest movers and shakers in Michigan cannabis, period. She has infused PR. She's a principal at 2050 Partners as well. she just keeps on going, keeps on going, keeps on going. And she's a Canna mom too. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that. And now we're going to go into switch it back over to Michelle, and she's going to finish off here. And when I see you guys next, we will be in the panel. All right. I think I went a little too far for you. It's been a while.
Listen, I appreciate that you did. It's like, it's definitely coming from an authentic place. So thank you.
No problem.
Do you want to just pop over to the next slide when you have a sec?
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys. So tonight's Rena show, same kind of deal, 7:30 to 7:45. Just going through our regular opening remarks and a review of current events. I was so grateful that Rico was able to give us the inside scoop on what's been going on with Normal. I think hearing the story firsthand, since he's so heavily involved with that organization, is such a huge honor for us here at Canna Gather. And so I'm really grateful that he was able to share that latest news with us. And then, of course, for the rest of the show, we'll just be doing our interactive live Q&A and everything like that. And I know that he just switched slides, but I was just going to go over the discussion topic. So we're going to start out with an analysis of current regional marketing, going over the current regional marketing landscape for cannabis and how things have shifted, especially during this global pandemic, and of course the racial tension that we've all been experiencing, and Rico even specifically just talked about firsthand from this past week. Then we're going to talk a little bit about regional marketing trends in CBD, THC, and of course hemp. And then of course how looming global decriminalization will change the way that cannabis, THC, CBD, and hemp all get marketed. Now we're ready for the next slide. All right, so we really, of course, are only able to do this with the help and support of our sponsors. CBD and CannabisInfo.com is actually created by Dr. Mary Clifton, who's with us today here in this event. So thank you so much for joining. But of course, we also want to shout out Originals Nation, Generation Pride, Hetty, New Jersey, Cannabis Voter Project, Superbad Inc., and of course, last but certainly not least, the amazing Advent Academy coming to you from the Knox Doctors. And of course, please do tune in for episode 15, TBD on the subject matter, but you know, we're always keeping it relevant and up to the minute with you guys all here at Canna Gather. So with that, I will pass the mic back over to Rico to host this incredible panel that we've got going for you guys. Thanks, guys.
Excellent. So Madison, Adelia, Tatiana, you guys want to start your cameras, please? Let's get this party started. What's happening? So glad to have all of you on here finally. And Madison tuning in from, is that Oahu?
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking more Bahamas. I'm out here in Palm Springs, but it's got a very Bahama feel with the background.
Love it. And Tatiana, great to have you in with us as well.
Thank you.
Are you out in Detroit?
You know, I'm actually 3 hours away at my place on the other side of the state.
Nice. I can dig it. I can dig it. So I gave a brief introduction to you, to all three of you. If you guys want to just add anything that we left out there, so the audience can get to know you just a little bit better, and maybe highlight anything you have going on within the next couple of weeks, so we can get into this conversation.
Absolutely. I can kind of take the lead. You know, my background is really in brand development and brand building. I really focus on the marketing side of the business. Probably about 50% of my time is focused on, you know, health, wellness, nutrition brands. And the 50% that I focus on and really try to put my energy towards is CBD and cannabis marketing. I work at Hawk Media. We're an outsourced CMO and marketing agency. And essentially, we position ourselves a little bit differently than most agencies in the way that you can pick and choose the channels you need, work directly with the experts. We don't walk into long-term contracts. And so we're able to work with really small brands that are just getting going, that need help with one little thing, or we're able to be the entire marketing team for much bigger brands. I'd say probably you know, we probably work with 25 maybe CBD brands currently, and probably a dozen cannabis THC brands, maybe some delivery services, and also some tech and other type of stuff. So that's a little bit on me and Hawk Media.
Awesome. And Tatiana?
Yeah, I would just add that, you know, I got into the cannabis space largely based on having a relationship with someone who was on the Michigan Medical Marijuana Licensing Board. And I decided to start another entity because my other marketing agencies work with organizations such as McDonald's and government agencies and things of that sort. So I formed Cultivate as a separate entity, and we are licensed in the state of Michigan as an event organizer. We were actually the first company in the Lower Peninsula of Michigan to get that. We got it last December. So a lot of our stuff is on hold because events right now are illegal because of the pandemic. So we're having to be real quick, but that's kind of me right now.
I can dig it. And Adelia, please.
You mentioned, you know, the beginning about me being a part or starting off in the cannabis industry with Direct Cannabis Network, and then transitioning over to Event High. Obviously, we also are in a similar position with the event landscape approach, being we're an event ticketing platform catering to this space. And so we have lately, we've just been focusing on the pivot, figuring out how we can continue to help event hosts move forward and transition. And even prepare for after. You know, we really believe there's going to be a hybrid component after, once events can start to become in person again,
Right.
due to just people not being comfortable, but also because now there's another revenue stream, a cheaper ticket, people don't have to travel, more opportunity for sponsors. So yeah, we're just trying to go with the flow, learn as much as we can so we can continue to educate our event host community.
Right. Can dig it. The reason why marketing is one of my favorite topics, period, is because it's so interesting. The data behind marketing is just awesome. And now that we are in the digital age, we're doing everything almost only on the computer. You can just see the numbers, and if people really cannot, what people tell you that they like isn't always what they like. Most of the time isn't what they like. And you can really see that right now. And the way that all three of you have navigated, continue to stay relevant in the digital age that we have been thrust into. I commend all of you guys, especially it's your livelihood. It was my livelihood too. Like, all I did was live events, and we have been able to pivot somewhat. So glad to have you guys on. So today, the format, we're doing a roundtable like we have been. We had a lot of great feedback from our roundtable format that we've been running with. I'm going to ask one of the questions that I forwarded to you guys earlier, and then we're going to randomly pick one person and then just go around and keep the conversation going. If you have something to add, go ahead and chime in. That's awesome. Fine. Piggyback off of each other. Michelle's going to keep us in order as far as time. We're going to have 1 hour to play, so 15 minutes on each of these topics, and then let's get to it. All right. So first question. What current trends or strategies are actually working in your particular area of expertise and or region, and why do you think that this is? Madison.
Well, I think there's so much happening right now. You know, one of the things that I love about Hawk is how many people there are, right? Like, we've got 100 people, probably 110 people that we work with. And so we're always finding new strategies that are working. And oftentimes, you know, those strategies work for a couple months or, you know, a year at a time. Right now, that lifespan of a good idea seems shorter than ever, because what's relevant right now is very irrelevant, or was very irrelevant probably a month ago. Right. And so I think being really cognizant of what campaigns you're running. And when I say campaigns, I think most people think of like a new product launch or a new theme or something along those lines. But what we're seeing is campaigns about like being active, you know, being active in your community. And every brand's a little bit different. We see a lot of the brands that we work with are national brands or even international brands. And so they have to pick more of a theme that is relevant on a broad scale, not necessarily in your state or in your city. And so getting behind a movement that may be happening, whether it's, clean products, like clean beauty, we're seeing take off right now. And we're seeing a lot of our brands kind of move into that clean space, or in the zero pollution. That's been a huge, and it's a huge cost. I think people underestimate the cost it takes for brands to go into zero pollution or carbon net neutral. One of my favorite brands that we've worked with for a very long time has just moved into a B Corp. And I think that's, something to be proud of. So I think just being relevant and staying top of mind, and also being able to be agile, because what's relevant, like I said, changes very quickly. But at the same time, I think, and I've preached this as long as I've been in marketing, I think authenticity is the biggest thing you can do in marketing, for a brand, for an individual, for a person, for a product. Sticking to your authentic self and speaking to your core demographic doesn't necessarily exclude other demographics. So I think staying within your tone of voice and staying authentic to who your brand is, and not just trying to trend ride, is really, really important. But when you do find, that cause that you're really rooted in, make sure to take advantage and leverage it, and make sure that you're communicating and making as big of an impact as possible. I think that's, one of the things that's trending now, but I think will continue to trend.
I'm right on with you with that, man. Authenticity more than anything else. Right now, what was the quote that I put up on my IG? Was that woke washed?
Yeah.
A lot of these businesses out there pretending to be something they're not.
Yeah.
I'll take the free marketing if you're actually giving dollars, but if you're wasting your dollars to put that on your product, you're only going to be seen as pandering and as a pariah, when all of this is said and done. So staying true to your brand, 100%. But I think what's really interesting what you said is that people are taking the leap into the next phase. People are tiptoeing into clean products. People are tiptoeing into more sustainable, everything. So this might be the event, the catalyst that catapults us forward, huh?
Yeah, I agree. I think there's such an opportunity right now with so many eyeballs being online, and there's so much happening so quickly. I'm sure you guys have seen, but there's some of the biggest brands in the world are now boycotting Facebook as of a couple days ago, which is pulling, probably close to $1 billion, if not at least millions, hundreds of millions off of that platform, which means, the cost to advertise is decreased. The room right within the timeline is increasing. So the more organic posts, the more influencer campaigns, the more campaigns you can run in general, is now getting more eyeballs. And during COVID, when, sports essentially were canceled and all these advertising dollars were pulled, we saw CPMs decrease by 30%. And so brands were now seeing, more eyeballs, 30% more eyeballs on the ads that they were spending. Now, I know most of the brands that we're talking about in this scenario aren't advertising on Facebook because cannabis is obviously not allowed, but we do work with some brands that have been white labeled with Facebook on the CBD side, and their reach has just increased dramatically. And that's just one of another examples of an opportunity that has changed because of, and all has changed in the last 3 months.
Oh, I can dig it. And what about you, Tatiana?
I would say a few things. When I saw the questions, a few things came to mind. The first being unique experiences, especially in the event space, is, on Sunday, we actually hosted our first elevated yoga experience, and it was extremely well received. So we are actually now looking for more rooftops. That was just we chose a really cool location, but now we're elevating it a little higher for the next one this month. So just unique experiences. We actually just did a strategic partnership with the augmented reality service provider, so that we can create some really unique in-home experiences that whether you are consuming or not, you are still getting this completely unique sponsored experience for some of our partners and things of that sort. In addition to that, we have some clients where we are completely doubling down on just true good CRM and going with the 80-20 rule. Just really making sure that you have that repeat business, that you are becoming a part of people's lifestyles, and that your brand is top of mind. If you're a dispensary, making sure that your overall interaction, your bud tenders, whether it's delivery, whatever the case may be, is just at that utmost level. And then unfortunately, the trend that we're seeing, at least me personally, is an increase in the Black market, which, me being a licensed company, I can't compete with that. So I just have to take my L's where I do, because there's no way I'm going to be able to operate in that space. So yeah, those are my top 3 things.
We like to call it the legacy market over here.
There you go.
Yeah. So no, while we're on that though, can you elaborate a little bit more on that, because we don't have that many guests on from the Michigan space.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that, how that has hindered your progress over in Michigan? Because we do deal with the legacy market, with a lot of the illegal businesses doing a lot of work out here. And I think AB 330 was the bill that came out. It's 3330 came out, tried to combat a lot of the illegal business advertising sources, but we'll see how that plays out. Like, what are you guys doing?
So, I mean, I think just COVID hasn't helped. When you talk to anyone, just agencies just don't have the resources to do any sort of enforcement or anything like that. So when you have a situation like that, people are just going to run and do what they want. Not to mention the fact that, Adelia, is so funny, because our first event, we were supposed to host Michigan's first recreational event in April. And we had it on your platform, and your team was really good about continuing to follow up with us. And we, of course, had to cancel it. But ultimately, by us kind of setting the precedent and being the first in the state, we had to go through all the red tape, all of the hurdles, and it is so cost prohibitive. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I get, if you don't have the resources, you're not going to have the license. I mean, just insurance alone. So for my company, as you shared, we've done a lot of work with athletes and sports organizations and things of that sort. My event insurance for an event where you are having liquor, you are at a public state park, is 15 times more in cannabis than it is for liquor, for a temporary liquor license. So I think there's a lot of levels to what kind of funnels people not being able to go, into the licensed industry for this, what we're talking about. But for me, it's just the reality of knowing it's not being enforced, and it's extremely cost prohibitive if you were trying to do it the legal route, not to mention the fact that the majority of our municipalities in Michigan have opted out of doing events. So even though I'm licensed, I can literally count on 2 fingers out of the hundreds of cities that we have in this state, the number that are even okaying events. And within that number, they are so far away from the metropolis, Detroit, where you have the majority. I mean, Detroit itself hasn't even opted in the rec. And I'm on the social equity group with the mayor's office and city council, and we still can't get this through. So it's just a lot of layers as to why I think we're seeing what we're seeing.
Yeah, I guess we're not the only ones in the bureaucracy fight here in Los Angeles. So good thing. One good thing I would say is that you are a crossover business operator, so you can actually eat in the non-cannabis lane, right?
Absolutely.
So
that's the only way I'm surviving right now. To be honest with you.
Yeah, no. I think that's important, because like with Hawk Media as well, they have a lot of non-cannabis businesses that they work with, and I think the companies that successfully master the crossover are going to be the ones that last the longest, because not only do you have expertise in mainstream America, but you also have all this expertise from the cannabis industry where you've already taken those shots, right? And so you can pivot like we are right now when cannabis is slow, or when cannabis speeds up and other things slow down, you can shift the other way. So bravo on that. And it's really good to hear that. And what about you, Adelia?
2 comments before I forget them.
You can jump in whenever. This is open time, please.
So Madison, I'm glad you brought up the whole Facebook thing. I was reading about what that whole, all these companies that were banning basically using Facebook. The one thing that was really frustrating though was that, and Mark Zuckerberg, he knows what he has. His reply back was, they'll be back. That's it. He knows everybody's going to come back. He knows they need his platform. And that's the thing.
We lost our ad account. It was terrible. It was the worst thing ever.
Though that these big corporations can start to use that authentic marketing approach and realize that they can find better ways and better tools to get in front of their audience. So hopefully by them banning for the next 30 days, if they really stick with it, they can actually learn a few new tricks of the trade. And even if they go back to Facebook, maybe they won't put as much money into Facebook.
Yeah, we've had to spend so much time in the last 2.5 years as I've kind of built out this cannabis division within Hawk, learning how to market without Facebook, because as a performance marketing agency, so much of our performance sits on Facebook and Instagram and Google, that a lot of those learnings that we did while working with some of these bigger CBD brands, we were actually able to take hey, we can do this. This might bump everything else that we're doing. So actually learning to market without Facebook, Instagram, and Google has positively affected a lot of the other brands, which is an interesting idea.
That's very interesting. I'd like to see the data.
I would. Yeah, the information on that. And then Tatiana, California is still a beast of its own too when it comes to licensing and events. Small event hosts are having a very hard time surviving. They cannot afford $1,000 for an event license if they're doing a intimate 20-person yoga event. It's not feasible here either, and we need to figure out ways to where it makes sense for everyone for you to go through this process to even get that license. So we have a lot of talking to do about that, I'm sure. But into the question, obviously the first one is live streaming, what we are doing right now. That is definitely one of the biggest trends that we are seeing. Obviously it was to help a lot of event hosts and even brands stay relevant at this time, whether it was through educating, connecting, or finding ways to still allow businesses to connect and move forward. I'm glad also that Tatiana brought up augmented reality. AR and VR is another huge trend that is really taking off right now. It's been around for a long time, but now it's starting to be that thing where people want to utilize it. I think though, because it's now better than it used to be. It was a lot wonkier back in the day. So and it's more accessible. So that is another trend that we are starting to see in the event sector as well. And then 2, with us all going to these virtual events and moving towards live streaming, brands have a lot more data that they can gather. How long are people actually watching the live stream? How are they communicating? Are they submitting questions? Are they answering polls? We can actually track a lot more data through online events than in-person events, and seeing what key topics are really triggering, in spikes in conversation or whatnot. So those are just kind of the 3 things that we're definitely seeing on our end.
Right.
If I could just add to that, we participated in a non-cannabis event, and I was honestly disappointed when I saw the number of attendees in the little corner. But then when I talked to the organizer, they said, but the replays were ridiculous.
Right.
So it's, really looking at the full gamut of these events. Absolutely.
Right. And exactly like you said, Adelia, anybody can sneak into a real party. You can't sneak into a digital party. You're going to have to log in somehow. Some way, somehow you're going to be able to get the IP address, and you're going to have a digital marker on there. You can see when people come in, when they come out, how long they stay in there, how long they're watching. There's so much more that you can see, and you can really capture people's attention and see how long that you are engaging with them. one thing that we've really seen is not only the replays, but we have multiple ways that we broadcast. So we'll broadcast on Facebook. Sometimes we'll broadcast on YouTube, and you can gauge like the different levels of interest there. And that also offers a new sales funnel too. You can put up ads over there for your business and YouTube, put up ads on Facebook, even though you can't do Facebook ads, you can actually just put up banners on your own site and do it manually. I use a lot of Hootsuite right now, simply because I forgot to back out of the trial membership, so I have it for a year. but it has been like an awesome tool for me to use because I can post on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. It says YouTube, but it doesn't. It's kind of wonky on there. And I try to just blast it in as many places as possible, and just take as much information from that to see what's working the best. And when it comes to sponsors, what I've seen is sponsors, you can find them on LinkedIn. It's where we find like most of our sponsors, like, believe it or not, is on LinkedIn. And a new one is LeafWire. So Beth on our team actually brought LeafWire into the conversation with us. And we've been doing a decent job picking up some good people with LeafWire, and then Justin on our team with our newsletter. So we just opened up everything. We threw the kitchen sink at them, and we try to do as much stuff as possible. But you can actually be in multiple places at once. And right, like where I would get disappointed because we started off at, was our first one, Michelle? I think it was our first one was 1,132 people. Our second one was almost 2,000 when we had Bruce Linton on. And then people got Zoom fatigued. And then there's less and less people watching it live. But yeah, those replays, and then you can go in multiple places. And our numbers are actually stronger at the end of the month than they ever were with the live events. So sorry, you got my nerd brain working there when we talk about like all the digital stuff. And what about you, Tatiana? Or did we already? Is that everybody on that topic? Anybody want to chime in before we go to the next question?
Yes, you made a good point on the putting it everywhere. The people need to see things at least, I believe it's 7 touch points. Mm-hmm. So seeing them on LinkedIn, seeing them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and I'm not 2 other ones, I'm sure, or email. So they just need to see it in multiple places before they really finally click and connect with it. So putting it everywhere, you're going to catch them eventually. Something that.
Yeah, and for this one, Michelle, you want to hop in here too? Because Michelle actually works for a digital marketing company too, because I know she probably has some relevant points on this. If you want to chime in with anything, Michelle, please. I think she's good. All right, so the next one.
Alongside her question in the chat, I noticed she asked a question, and I think it kind of goes alongside of what we're talking about right now. And every single unexperienced marketer that I know gets really obsessed and really tied to like return on ad spend. Mm-hmm. And obviously every brand, every company wants to make it a return on their ad spend, right? But I think what most people want to do is they think like, hey, maybe if we change up the ad creative, or maybe if we change up the targeting. The reality is exactly like Adelia said, people need to be touched at least 7, I think of at least 10 times before they convert. And a lot of the times that first conversion is the only shot you have. And so if the people land on your site and they don't know what product to buy, and they buy the product that isn't your strongest product, they'll probably never come back. So we spend even more. So just for reference, we've got about a 20-person media buying team, and we've got a 100-person outside of media buying team. So things like content, things like creative, things like photo video, things like email, massive SMS. We're seeing an enormous bump in SMS and Facebook Messenger. And that's where the lower funnel conversion comes from. And it's so overlooked. I think, the brands that we see perform, I'm under Google Analytics all the time, and the brands that we're seeing perform are always the ones that put in the most effort to either educational or entertaining content, mm-hmm. really strong behavioral triggered automated email flows, strong content and SEO alongside that. And you have to have engaging social media. Nowadays, people are such educated buyers that if they land on your website and you have a gorgeous website, and then they go to your social media and you haven't posted in a week, they're like, wait, out, this seemed like a good brand. Do they not care about who they are? Right. So you don't have an option in order to compete with the brands out there, specifically on a brand level too. B2B is a little bit different. But on the brand level, there's so much competition that you have to have every single box checked in order to compete at scale. And I think that, looking at the media buying numbers can be deceiving if you don't have the proper foundation in your marketing funnel.
I can attest to that. I saw my numbers drop drastically when I don't post. when I don't post, when I don't engage, and I know my my manager, like, he gets so pissed. Like, you have to engage. You have to engage. Yeah. Engage. It's all about engagement, and that's how you get loyalty too.
Yep. And provide value.
Yes, 100%. All right. I think we have one more question in the. Let's see. Okay. We're gonna ask. We have a question in the bin right here, but we're actually going to be covering that on question number 3, anyways. So we're gonna come back to that one. All right. So, second round. Racial unrest has sparked a shift in rhetoric for communities globally. How have companies changed to adapt, and how do they avoid woke washing, like I said before, or being seen as mere panderers or exploiters of socially vulnerable consumers? You want to start on that one, Adelia?
The first part is just gonna be more real. I was having a very hard time being a woman and a woman of color. I didn't know even how to push forward our own marketing for our company through the past few months. It was really tough I wasn't feeling comfortable, about trying to push things out that were promoting vital, but not right now, in a sense. So honestly, like the past couple weeks and even 2 months, I was having a really hard time really trying to figure out, how do we want to market our business right now through this time? And how do we do it to where it is authentic, to where it really does represent how we are as humans and how we think? Because that is really what pushes our brand and our company to move forward. So this one was tough. But what I've learned along the way is, first things first, looking at the board and looking at their employees. Do they really, do they really stand behind this movement? And if so, we can tell by looking at who they've hired, who is on their leadership board, who is their company really diverse? And if so, or are they just trying to jump in and now, and I hate to put the word into it, but put a token person just because they want to be diverse? So it's like, how do these companies, who are the ones running behind these companies, and how are they transitioning? I'm glad a lot of different companies are starting to be on and starting to look within themselves and looking at how they are bringing diversity behind their management team and their hiring process. I also think on top of that, it's also, where is the company investing their money? So Madison mentioned earlier, one of his favorite companies just became a B Corp. That is something that's becoming very popular and actually very helpful and impactful for this day and age. It's companies that have a mix of purpose and profit. So that's another key component is, where are they actually investing their money as a company? Are they actually, are they just donating to these organizations, but yet they're not getting to the political leaders and speaking the same thing about what they're donating to? Right. The other part is, looking at a company's track record. What have they done in the past? Consumers want brands that will really step in and step up in a range of all these different issues that are happening right now: human rights, global warming, all a variety of different topics that are happening for humanity. But companies need to practice what they preach. They can't just put a post up and say that they do this and they believe in it without actually having action. We're not naive. Consumers are not naive. They are paying attention to what companies are doing. They want to connect with these business owners, and you can't hide behind, just your logo anymore or your company name. They want to know who's running these companies. And so yeah, it was kind of all over the place. I had my notes down, but that's kind of the beginning of it.
Oh, those are all good points. What about you, Tatiana?
So I would say that the biggest thing has been, seeing what companies really put their money where their mouth is. As a Black female, this particular time that we're in, there's certain people that, people have said to me, like, if they came to you to work with you, like, would you work with them? And, when you talk about, being a token, like, there's some people that if I didn't see you do anything before, or if I've seen your response just be really half-ass, I don't really have anything for you right now. So I commend some people for putting forth the effort, but if it's literally just a matter of putting a Band-Aid and not actually getting to the root cause of issues, I think it goes back to like the layer of authenticity that we were talking about. And so it's just been really interesting because I can't, and actually before this, I was like, well, let me go and see if maybe I missed something. Because I with the exception of traditional like national brands, I haven't really seen a ton of people step up in our space in regards to this. Even, I mean, like posting a black Instagram square on Blackout Tuesday to me doesn't cut it. We see time and time again, people of color, Black people are basically just seen as consumers. And so until, there's real equitable space that, I'm just looking at people sideways, basically. So until people really start putting, whether it comes to outreach, strategy, hiring practices, and when it's all said and done, not everyone is meant to be an owner. Trust me, with all the companies I have and seeing people don't have the same work ethic and things of that sort, I totally get not everyone should fully be at the table, and not necessarily, I don't mean that. I mean, not everyone should be an owner when it's all said and done, because what it takes to be sustainable and to be able to compete in this market in the long run is not necessarily going to happen. But I think as a whole, just what I've seen, I've been somewhat unimpressed with. And then on the flip side, when you talk about the non-cannabis companies, I've seen the reverse, where I have particularly been pulled into conversations where you do have national companies putting stuff up, but then internally the backlash and well, we had a policy that we don't support anybody, and why all of a sudden is Black Lives Matter like acceptable, and you have all types of reverse things. So I mean, I think just as a society we're in a very weird spot, but I think it's necessary to basically say Black people have a different path of life than those, and it's literally because of the color of our skin. And for people to acknowledge that, I think just the basic level of acknowledging it is a step in the right direction for me.
Right. I agree with you, and it was both you and Adelia on so many points there. I struggled a lot with that after George Floyd was murdered. I like to say that, say the word, he was murdered. It was tough. It was really tough to address that. And then the fact that I do have such like my brand of Canna Gather has been so inclusive, and we have like a lot of white allies. We have a lot of people that have stepped up in the past, and it was disheartening. Like we went like a while without like hearing anything about that from a lot of the companies out here. So I just hope that in the digital age we're able to keep some of those companies accountable. because we have data on that. We see exactly when they posted and what they posted and what they posted about. So what about you, Madison?
I think posting is one thing, but one of the things I've always lived by is talk is cheap, kind of actions speak, right? And you guys both mentioned it, so I don't need to say the same thing. But what I see is that when a brand is moving towards something really aggressively right now, I always look to see, okay, is this something they just started in the last couple of weeks, or is this something that they've been passionate about all along? I'm much more drawn to a brand that since its inception has been moving towards a mission and has been steady towards that mission, whether it's trending or relevant or not. I think there's obviously a right side of this fence to be on. And so I think showing that you're on that side is obviously important. But moving and kind of taking advantage, if you may, of that trend may not be the best way to go about it. I think there's tasteful ways to go about it. And I think there's kind of that woke washing or trend riding or political stance that you could go about it. But I'm really more drawn to, and you'll probably hear this if you guys have ever seen me speak anywhere else, like I almost always, whenever I'm talking to a brand or a client or a coworker or anything, I think authenticity speaks volumes. And so picking your mission and working towards it is going to be what your audience is typically drawn to.
Right. Yeah, couldn't have said it better. It just all comes back to that authenticity. And when you got it, you got it. When you don't, you don't. And it's okay too. And I'd like to take like a little bit of a contrarian view on that too. Like it's okay if you're not all about that. Learn and talk about the learning process. It's all right. You don't have to be like all authentic, like like Black Lives Matter, Black Lives. I was like, no, dude. Like you don't have to say all that shit. Like learn, like, yo, teach me. I'm sorry that I haven't been on this, but I see the air of not being part of this, and I see what the detriment it has caused in the past. Like, let me learn, and that's a great call to action right there for you to hire more people of color to your team, so you can become more sensitive to stuff like that, because it really does matter, and in the end, it's going to be affecting your bottom line too. So it's an economic choice for you to make as a business owner, whether you have people of color or not. Like, why would you not? If people of color, especially Black people and brown people, are the biggest consumers, why would you not have people from those demographics like running your company? Like, it just makes too much sense on my end. Anybody else want to chime in on that before we go to the next one?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I have a friend who's a real estate developer, and he called me. I think it was on Juneteenth, maybe it was the day before Juneteenth, and he's Jewish, and he said, "Tati, I feel really ignorant asking you this, but is this a celebratory holiday or is it like a memorial sad holiday?" Because he has so many African American workers, and he wanted to know how he should acknowledge the holiday. And he wanted to do it as a paid day off, and he didn't know how to navigate it. And so the fact that he even asked me, I respected on so many levels, because he just didn't know. So yeah, I mean, if you don't know, if you're not down for the cause, if you're not really aware, just ask, Google, whatever the case may be.
Right. And yeah, just piggyback off of that, I've said that multiple times here on Can I Gather before. Like, that's the most respectful thing you can ever do, and I think that's awesome. Like, I never assume like anything, because especially like Black people are so diverse, right? We're so diverse. We've all been through different kinds of trauma, and we have different levels of tolerance when it comes to that stuff too. If you ever think that anything is going to be offensive, whether it's a campaign, whether it's something you say publicly or in privately, just ask. Like, it's not offensive to ask. Like, yo, like, feel it in your gut, like, oh, this might be controversial, but it might be funny. Just ask. It's the best thing that anybody could do, and it goes over a lot better than you putting something out there and it is offensive to a ton of people, and then now you have to retract that statement, right? All All right. So number 3. How different is marketing specific products and services for CBD versus THC versus hemp-based products? And does this change regionally? I'll start you with this one, Tatiana.
Oh gosh. I was gonna say, so I would say most of the clients that we work with are more so in the THC space. But just what I have seen is, just the marketing of the CBD and hemp as more of a holistic, more of a wellness sort of realm and kind of way of approaching things is kind of the route that we have advised our clients with.
Mhm.
But most of our stuff is really in the THC space, and it's really about strains and potency and the nitty gritty kind of stuff. Of course, there's always aesthetics and how you're connecting with people. We're very big on doing marketing personas and really digging deep into who it is, what do they look like, where do they smell, where do they eat, where are they, all that kind of stuff. And I think that applies across the board, whether it is THC, hemp, or CBD. But just our day-to-day experience is really more so in the THC space.
I can dig it. And is Michigan, are there like specific rules that you guys have that are unique to Michigan when it comes to THC products?
I don't know. I would assume so, just because people make it seem like Michigan laws are unnecessary and things of that sort. So I would assume so, but I don't know. Most of our clients are more so regional, so I don't know what it looks like in comparison to the States.
Got it. And what about you, Madison? What's your take?
I love this question. This is perfect fuel for me. This fires me up because honestly, I feel like everybody you talk to, every brand founder, brand marketer, like they want us to just be, no, it's a lifestyle brand. It's a lifestyle brand. Everybody's a lifestyle brand right now. And that's just not true, right? Like people don't buy products because of the lifestyle yet, right? They do at some point. And there's definitely brands that I'm like, everything they do, I fucking love, right? Like that's just how I am. But you didn't get there without knowing what product you should buy, right? I think that's the biggest confusion that people have as they're trying to build out this marketing mix and this marketing funnel. It's like, oh, this brand seems interesting. Oh, they seem like they have some good stuff. Oh, I like this. I like that. What the hell should I buy? I don't know what to buy. They have all this stuff on the website, but nothing's kind of pointing me in the right direction. So there's a few things that you can go about it. One, you can just have like a champion product that you're pushing everybody towards, and like, this is the shit. This is our best product. And then maybe once you like that product, then you can try these other things, right? Like we do a lot of like skincare. So it's like, maybe it's our skin, maybe it's our face wash, maybe it's our conditioner, maybe it's this, maybe it's that. There's so many things that you can choose, but just make sure that first product they buy, they like, because a lot of the times if you don't push them in the right direction, they'll end up buying a product that isn't your strongest product. They don't like it. Next thing you know, they're never going to work with your brand again. They unsubscribe from email. They never follow you on social, and they're done forever. So I think the champion product is probably the most common way to win as a young brand. Like I won't mention the name, but a brand that we've been working on for a very long time, very, very, very successful, both CBD and THC company. Their best product is their balm. Like they have this beautiful balm. It smells incredible when you open it. It could be like a deodorant. It smells so incredible, but like you rub it on and you feel a difference, right? But if someone came in and they didn't try that product, maybe they tried the face mask, right? I haven't tried their face mask, but I doubt their face mask is nearly as good as their balm. But now, as a fan of their balm, now they might try the face mask. They might try the lotion. There's a million other things they can try. The opposite side of that coin is I love pushing people towards quizzes. I think people are fascinated by quizzes. It's a great lead gen tool, and it's a great way to get somebody to be like, oh, like I know that this is right for this is the solution for my problem because I just filled out this quiz, and the quiz is obviously smarter than I could ever be. People are dumbfounded by quizzes. They love taking them. They love answering them. They love sharing them. So there's also like a kind of a 2-for-1 click there where it's like, hey, I paid a couple dollars for that click, maybe $10 for that click, but then they shared it with 2 of their friends. So now I just got 3 for that same click. So I love pushing people towards clicks, but I love the idea of pushing people towards product-based marketing, both in cannabis, CBD, and elsewhere. I think it's massively overlooked, specifically with young brands, right? Like, I don't think Nike has to do it as much, right? Like Lululemon, people are going in there because they want to buy stuff. But with young brands, picking a product and pushing people towards it to make sure that that user experience is top notch, I think is massively overlooked.
No, man. The champion brand, I guess that's something I've always been a fan of. And then also always have a call to action, whether it's a quiz, whether it's gamifying it in some way, some form or fashion. That's how you create loyalty, and loyalty creates more sales. And the loyal customers always spend more. Every single.
And I think a big part of that call to action mentality, right? Like that, like you're going to give to me is you got to give back, right? So I think so many people are like, hey, give us your email. It's like, why? Why do I give us, like, why am I going to give you my email, right? What do I get when I give you my email? And so like that transactional method is something that you really have to get early on, or, giving away vacations, giving away camp. Like there's so many things that you can do to be interactive with what I think of as your community, and your community is both email, your web traffic, your social following, your customers, your referrals. The list kind of goes on and on, but you really have to provide a lot of value, both through social and email, to SMS, Facebook Messenger. And even when you send them products, like give them other things, right? If you buy a balm, and I think that, anybody who buys the balm is probably going to love this, like send a couple of those samples alongside. You want people to be interactive with your brand. That's how you get them to be loyal.
Right. Is one thing I learned when I was at Baker Technologies, more than the data aggregation on the back end, was there's two things that Americans love more than anything else. That's video games and free shit. So if you can gamify,
I love some free shit. I love some free shit.
Right? Like video games and free shit. So if you gamify the process in some way to actually collect data from it, and then on the back end of that, you reward them with something free, whether it is, everybody here, probably even in the room at home right now, you've all been to a trade show of some sort. Like, ever go to the last day of trade shows? Everybody's like these big bags, and they're just grabbing whatever's left. All these like tchotchke pens, like from every, like whistles, like whatever it is. Like, people love free stuff in America. Doesn't matter how useless it is. So if you give somebody incentive to give you their information, like chances are they're going to give it to you. That's just the American way. Adelia.
Well, I mean, everything that was mentioned so far is definitely on point to this. One of the things I want to say not to do, and I am very confident that everybody in the room knows this, but I still see this kind of marketing tactic where brands that are CBD or hemp are actually making claims. Do not make any medical claims with your products, please. Like, I'm surprised we still have to say it, but we do. That will cause a lot of huge issues for your company. Yes, cannabis is amazing. Yes, hemp, there's so many things that it can help do, but we just can't do that. But then choose just the basics. Obviously, if you are newer to the industry, you do have to be very specific on all the different platforms of what keywords you are using. You are going to get flagged. You can get kicked off certain platforms. You can get flagged on payment processors. So again, if you're a little bit, if you're still learning about the industry, just be very careful in how you present and market your brand.
Right. I think you just gave me a product idea for like a CBD infused face mask.
There's a couple of those out there. I think it's interesting, Adelia, that you say that, because as you said, right, like giving claims and saying that your product solves solutions, obviously not allowed, obviously shouldn't do it. At the same time, what we have seen work really, really well, and it's definitely within the gray area, is leveraging third-party testimonials to answer those questions. Now, we have some incredibly strict brands that have to go through legal 3 times before we post anything for them. And then we have other brands that don't give a shit, right? Because they're so small that they're never going to be the mold that's whacked. So we have really seen insane performance out of third-party testimonials throughout funnels. Definitely not on the website. sometimes on the website, but more times throughout like content and email and SMS and product like descriptions within like wrapping, right? Like in the actual hard packaging, talking about like, you know, people have said that this, and this have happened, because people need to know how to use the product and why they would use it and how it's going to work. I cannot wait until there's some regulations around this that we're actually like, we actually know what we can and can't say, because right now it basically just says don't say anything.
Right. And I wanted to get to Gaetano Lardieri's question here too. What would your advice be for branding science of cannabis? Or does it kind of brand itself?
You guys want to go ahead?
Anybody want to grab it?
I think it falls into the claim area. I think it's going to be really difficult to explain the science without making claims on the science.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I think very few percentage of your potential consumers really care about the actual science. I think they care about the effects of the science.
Mm-hmm.
So the term may lead to, can help with, may support. Those types of sentences are really helpful within the less strict cannabis and CBD brands, but the more strict ones aren't even going to say it at all, and it's going to be difficult to get people to buy shit when they don't know what it's going to do to you.
Right. Yeah.
What is the science of cannabis? Is it a product? Is it a soft, like, is it a platform? Like what is it, just that word, like a tagline, or what is it in that aspect?
What isn't it?
Do we?
Yeah, and I was just gonna say that, so for instance, we in Michigan, when we talk about our legislation and everything, we have certain grants that the state allows different municipalities to have. And they run it right now through the different municipality health and human services. And the way that I've seen them deploy those campaigns, to me, is very anti the industry. So I actually started doing some research, and so for instance, I've seen them run ads talking about like the effects of cannabis in pregnancy and this and that. And, I still have not been able to wrap my brain around, find like what is the credible, I just don't think we have enough full research because of the industry to really go super deep and put like brands on the line to do it, just because because for me, I was like so amped up. I'm trying to find the counter science to then go back to them. And then I'm like, oh, is this reputable enough for me to go to the Department of Health and Human Services and say what you have is not right? It's just, to me, I just don't know if we have enough right now to do that.
Right. I hope that kind of answered your question, Guy. In there. All right. Now, so we're in the middle of a pandemic, obviously. We've had racial tensions dividing our country. We've had a huge election we have a huge election coming up in November. The World Health Organization and the United Nations will be voting on a global decriminalization in December. How do you develop a coherent strategy for all of this chaos? And how is this affecting each of your current lanes, whether it's events, whether it's crossover products, or whether it's like whatever we spoke about? I think we'll start with Adelia with this one.
And muted. Well, for us, this is obviously affecting our company in a variety of different ways. The first one, going with the pandemic, is the events. Our tagline as a company used to be bringing people together offline. Obviously, that we can't do right now. So that alone, as a global pandemic, it had us turn our whole business model upside down. And so we really had to try to figure out, like, A, are we going to make it? Are we going to survive? Can we, do we have the energy to continue to try to figure out how we're going to move our company forward? We're not, as large as Eventbrite yet. So we still, you know, yeah, could we really survive? So that was the first really big, huge, basically punch in the gut of what are we going to do? State after state. We're in 37 states, and it was one state after another: cancellation, reschedule, cancellation, refund, blah, blah, all over. And that was the biggest wake up call, because we have backup plans for when things go wrong, but we never thought a global pandemic where people cannot connect in person ever was going to be part of that problem. So that was a huge one. And it affected us and is still affecting us. We pivoted. We've put a lot of our energy into just educating, as I mentioned in the beginning, to focusing on virtual events and how to stay relevant at this time for event hosts and even for our own brand. And now it's also now preparing for what's going to happen after. You know, then once the racial tension started to just to come to light again, because it never really went away. It's just, again, it's been here, but it finally came to what needed to happen. To be honest, we need change as a humanity, and it's time we wake up from this. But as a company, again, it was, you know, for us, I don't want to promote events, you know, when this is happening, like but yet that's our business. Like it was really trying to figure out, you know, again, what can we do? How can we continue to help our event host community who are trying to survive and keep doing what they're doing, but still be mindful of what is happening. So it's affected us across a lot of boards. I think personally, I personally had to take some time and really allow myself to feel and think and just really get a grasp of everything that was happening, to see how we were going to approach this. As a team, we all took some time off for a few days and kind of reconnected and went off the grid. And now we're back, and we kind of are all more clear-headed and focused onto what is our next move. You know, as a company, we all are a minority. Everybody a part of the Event High team, that, you know, our founder is Middle Eastern, I'm Mexican. Everybody is a diverse human, whether it's their lifestyle, religion, or even the color of their skin. And so that has been something that we're very passionate about, is bringing diverse humans together, because that's what will allow us to scale and grow, because we have collective minds coming together at these times of needs and when it comes to building a business. So yeah, there's a lot. We're still adjusting though.
Right, yeah, and it's crazy you say that, yeah, because I have 3 businesses and they're all in the event side. So as you know, because I was using the event too, like, and it's really tough. And to bring back to the George Floyd thing, man, that was like the toughest, because yeah, you want to have conversations around this, but at the same time you're grieving, and I think that as part of communities of color, right, and part of like being a minority, is that we're not the majority, so we do like adhere to closer to our individual cultures. So when one of us dies across the country, and it's done in a heinous way, it's not just like another crime. It's like losing part of your family too. And so somebody gets killed by police in Albany, New York, or Tallahassee, Florida, or wherever in the US, like, it hurts. And so it was tough, right? It's like going back to events, or trying to get people to come out to this. And I'm sure as a non-person of color too, like you want to do events and you know that it'll probably be good, but you don't want to pander too. So I mean, it's a tough situation right there, especially in the event industry, or when you're trying to market something to somebody. It's tough because you still have to make a living, right? You have a family, and you got to pay the bills. So yeah. What about and you, Madison?
I think, you know, my answers just keep coming back to like foundational principles within marketing, within your business. Very similar to how I said about authenticity and kind of speaking to, the mission that your brand is on. I think at the same time, you have to be thinking of, be solution oriented, right? So let's be in the shoes of, Lululemon for a second, right? I think, right now people are stressed out, people are working from home, people have a lot of emotions, like play towards that and provide a solution. You should be working out more, get your endorsements going, right? Like be a solution there within the CBD space. One of the biggest reasons people take CBD is because of stress, right? And I've never been more stressed in my life than I have been in this last probably 90 days. So why not be the solution there? And so provide that solution for the people based off of timeliness, and hope that your mission is authentically speaking towards the times. Without a doubt, everybody's had to change. Every single brand, every single company, every single individual has had a lot of changes hit them in this last 100-ish days for a lot of different reasons. But as long as you have those fundamental principles within yourself and within your brand, and you can continue to lean on those, I think that makes life a lot easier, either as an individual or as a brand. And so, being authentically speaking to your mission and being solution oriented is going to help answer a lot of those questions as you're moving towards a more successful brand. And so that makes it easy, I think, easier when you're looking at answering these types of questions if you have strong foundational principles.
Right. And just sparked something in me that jogged my memory. Like last week I was watching these commercials, and there's a funny commercial came on, and I got mad. It shows like these marketing is working because everybody has these sad commercials now. Everybody has these sad commercials. They have these meaningful commercials, like we're in this together, like blah 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 blah. And then I saw like a funny commercial. I was like, why aren't you on the same page as everybody else, right?
Yeah,
because I'm being pandered to. And the other thing I realized was that we've just reverted back to cable television. Like everything has commercials on it. Like we got out of cable television to escape that, like cord cutting, and now I'm paying more than I was paying for cable, and everything has commercials on it. So
I know that's a whole nother topic. We could go for hours on that, but 2000, this next decade in terms of entertainment, education, and what we're looking at is going to be really interesting, because it's very clear that Facebook won the last decade when it came to stealing advertising, and building, curating, and entertaining an audience both through education and advertising. It's going to be really interesting to see who takes this next decade, because it's kind of clear to me that Facebook isn't as dominant now as it was 2 years ago, but it's going to be a hell of a ride.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And Tatiana, I thought we're gonna have a guest with us.
Yeah, she makes the most cameos on Zoom ever. She like just pops on. So no, just the only thing I would add to what everyone said is, me as a company. So when I first came into cannabis, it was really because I actually founded Detroit's first food delivery service. And so I was encouraged to go the secure transporter route. And so upon doing my research, I opted not to do it, and I came in the way that I did. But one of the real kind of concerns that I had as being an independent independent company, was when legalization happens, how all of these big companies, like the armored vehicles and things of that sort, are just gonna swarm some of the very cannabis specific, companies. So from a strategy perspective, for us, I had a number of reasons, fraud and everything else, the reason why I closed my food delivery service. But we got to the point when we were competing against DoorDash, Uber Eats, and everyone. And it was either we are going to raise enough capital to completely fight with them, or we're going to work with them. And for us, we took the second route, which was working with them. And so for a period of time, all of Grubhub's orders in Detroit were funneled through my company. And so for us, it allowed us to make our margins and everything else to be sustainable in the market. So I think, you know, from a strategy perspective, when you talk specifically about what that looks like, is how do you stay in the game? How do you either work with people? How do you compete against them? Is it really doubling down on your consumers and making sure that your marketing makes them come to you as opposed to the big national company, finding your niche, whatever the case may be, but thinking from strategy from that perspective. And then, you know, also what sort of capital is it going to take if you do decide to compete?
Right. And it's kind of that, you got to make that decision. Like, are you big enough to compete with these guys? Or are you small enough to make a sizable amount of money, covering your specific lane for that company? Right. At the end of the day, we just got to know that we are in a capitalist society, right? And who has the bigger pocketbook will stay in the game longer. So if you're not like just flush with cash, you just gotta think about making that move. And this is something that I've been actually brought up on a call. We were on a Zoom with LA Normal and LBCA. Because the cool thing that I've been able to notice with Canada Gather Digital, this 100-day experiment that we've been doing here across the country, one thing is static, is the fact that a lot of these smaller companies, they're all cash strapped, right? And we were on the call and AB 330, the bill was going through, and everybody's talking, oh yeah, we're gonna take weed maps out, and I'm like, maybe you want to leave that beef in the last decade, because some of the biggest players that might not have been your friend before, but they know how your business works, they know how your culture operates, those might be your best friends to carry your brand on into the future, because when legalization comes on, like you said, Amazon, Microsoft, like all these companies that are gobbling up everybody else are probably going to be gobbling up a lot of us too, or they're going to stomp you out. And that's just the reality of the situation. And unfortunately, like a lot of us are going to be caught up in that. So now is not the time for these beefs, especially with that's why I brought up like the UN and the World Health Organization, their decriminalization vote. Like, I bring it up every single time I get on the mic because people need to pay attention to that. Global, right? Like, Donald Trump and Joe Biden don't know what the hell cannabis is. They really don't. And they don't understand. Like, Donald Trump like knows business and he'll try to get the most dollars out of it. Joe Biden literally in November said that it's still a gateway drug. And right now on his website, he's like giving up to big pharma. Who knows what it's going to look like in America? But if we're decriminalized globally, there's a lot more opportunity and a lot more markets, and you're going to have a lot more ways to market to them. And who has that expertise already? We do, right? So whether you're a small operator in a emerging market, and you're getting that information now, the best thing to do is to team up with other people that are experts, like our three guests today. Experts in marketing, experts in advertising. Look at these. I think the best, and I can't shortchange that enough. Like getting an invite to Hawkfest last year, me being in the cannabis industry, like I was there all damn day taking notes because the way I got my first high fives in the cannabis industry was because I was using methods that weren't present in the cannabis industry. Right? Yeah, exactly. Data. No, but that's in California industry, like nobody was using data services. Weed maps, everybody was using weed maps, but weed map, and they're paying about $7,000 to $8,000 a month, but weed maps wasn't giving them any data back. I was like, that's not how you run a business. And so with our company, that's what we did. We gave people data services. We plugged into the POS. They weren't using that information and fed that to them and made smarter businesses. So you can utilize that on a global scale, and you use smart marketing practices, and you're going to be great. So around the horn one more time. You have closing statements about anything in the industry, about your businesses, and where to find you, please. I'll start with Adelia, please.
Okay. Closing statements. Thank you for inviting me. I learned a lot from the conversation, so I appreciate being able to connect with all three of you today, and for everybody tuning in. If you all want to learn more about Event High, go to www.eventhigh.io. You can also find us on all social media platforms as well to learn about the upcoming events that are online and offline soon enough. And if you want to connect with me, follow me on social media at Miss Adelia.
Awesome. And Madison?
Guys, thank you so much for having me. As you can probably tell, I'm very, very passionate about this. I can talk marketing, I can talk cannabis, I can talk either of those two all day long, or partake in either of those two all day long. If you may, you guys can hit me up anytime. Happy to chat, happy to help, happy to consult, happy to just have discussion. Madison at Hawk Media, very easy to connect with. I'm on all the platforms as well. Thank you for joining.
Outstanding. And Tatiana?
And thank you. This is Gianna. But thank you for having us this evening. The work that you were doing, Rico, and both of your teams, both with Canna Gather and you, and all of your ventures are really making moves out here. So I appreciate you plugging me in all the times and the ways that you do. And yeah, we are, as a company, we are building out our virtual and socially distanced events. So our actually consumer facing brand is MI420 Events. Cultivate MI Solutions is like our B2B licensed name, but our more consumer facing is MI420 Events. You can go there and check out the events that we'll be rolling out over the summer. And again, thank you everyone. Have a good holiday weekend.
Absolutely. And yeah, before we head into the weekend, I'll just have like some closing remarks here. Marketing is awesome. And it's a really tough subject, especially in tough times like we are right now. When to turn on, when to put your foot on the gas, and when to pull up a little bit. We've been trying a lot of stuff here at Canna Gather, and some of it's worked, some of it hasn't. We've been given great feedback. And that's what it really takes. The thing that's different about the cannabis community than other industries is whether you still do it now or you don't. Like most people, the first time that you ever got high was with a group of other people. It's collaboration. Like we're all gonna get high together, right? We're all gonna lift each other up, and it's been awesome, right? And we just have to continue to stay down that path and collaborate. We don't have much time left until this election. We don't have much time left until this big vote that's going to make it globalized or not. We only have 4.3% ownership in the Black community when it comes to cannabis. It's just over 10% in Latinx communities, right? And there's no promises on the other side when this thing goes global. I know there are a lot of broken promises in America, 40 acres and a mule. There's no promises on the next level. So if you have people that are outside of the industry, yeah, get them in cannabis, especially Black and brown operators. Get them in cannabis. We've lost 3 to 4 generations of Black and brown men and women to the war on drugs, and we don't have ownership in it. So let's really move towards that. Let's cooperate with each other. Let's collaborate with each other and continue to build this community. It's not going anywhere, but it will evolve without us unless we evolve too. So work together, reach out to people, meet great people like Tatiana, still connect with people down in San Diego like Adelia, and I still got to smoke in person or online with Madison at some point, because I can go all day too, brother. So that's all I can say, man. Lots and lots of activities this weekend as far as in the virtual space. Reach out to some people, keep the cannabis industry going hard, and give them good feedback, because there's nothing better than digital feedback, because you can actually test it. All right. So see you guys next week. And just remember, there's no place else to turn. Turn up. All right, guys. Have a great weekend. Happy 4th of July.